Welcome to Unbound, the podcast with Beth Curry, author, storyteller, and survivor. This is where books meet real life, where Beth reads chapters from her work and breaks free from the traditional audiobook format, diving deeper into the personal experiences, lessons, and liberation behind every page. Nothing is off limits. Let's get unbound.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Unbound Season 2, The Weight of Truth. I am Beth Curry, and today we're talking about the elephant in the room, or in my case, the tiger. The thing that makes weight loss so much harder than people who've never struggled with it can understand, and that's food addiction. This is Chapter 7 in the book called Caging the Tiger. Once I had my light bulb moment and decided I actually wanted to live, I thought the hard part was over. I thought having clarity about what I wanted would magically make the doing part easy. I was wrong. So fucking wrong. Because I had a diagnosed food addiction. And guess what? You can't just quit your drug. You can't go cold turkey. You can't check into rehab and never see your substance of choice again. You have to keep your addiction alive and somehow learn to live with it peacefully. It's like trying to cage a tiger, but you still have to take that tiger for a walk 3 times a day. Food addiction is the cruelest addiction because it's the only one where complete abstinence will kill you. An alcoholic can quit drinking. A drug addict can get clean. A gambler can avoid casinos. But a food addict has to eat to survive while managing an addiction to the very thing that's keeping them alive. And if you've never experienced food addiction, let me paint you a picture of what it actually feels like. It's standing in your kitchen at 10 p.m., not hungry at all, opening the refrigerator for the 7th time in an hour because your brain is convinced that there's something in there that will make you feel better about your day. It's eating so fast you don't even taste the food, like you're afraid someone's going to take it away from you. It's finishing your meal and immediately thinking about what you're going to eat next, even though you're uncomfortably full. It's eating in secret because you're ashamed of how much you need food to cope with literally everything. It's telling yourself just one bite and eating the entire container, then telling yourself the same lie again tomorrow. It's feeling like food is the only thing that understands you, even as it's slowly destroying your life. The hardest part about food addiction isn't the physical hunger. It's the emotional hunger that feels exactly the same in your body, but can never actually be satisfied by eating. When I finally understood this, really understood it, everything changed. Not because the addiction went away, but because I stopped fighting it wrong. For years, I'd been trying to defeat food addiction with willpower. I'd wake up every morning determined to be good and go to bed every night disappointed in myself for being bad. I thought the solution was to be stronger, more disciplined, more committed. But food addiction isn't a willpower problem. It's a brain chemistry problem. It's a coping mechanism problem. It's a I never learned how to deal with emotions without eating them problem. You can't willpower your way out of addiction any more than you can willpower your way out of needing oxygen. What you can do is learn to manage it, and that starts with understanding what's actually happening in your brain when the urge hits. Here's what I learned. An urge is just a feeling. It's a vibration in your body. For me, urges live in my chest. They're fast, they're red, and they feel tight. They feel urgent and demanding, like they need something, like they need to be satisfied immediately or something terrible will happen. But you know what? If you just let the urge exist without acting on it, it goes away on its own in 15 to 90 seconds. 15 to 90 seconds. That's it. It's science. I'm serious. The urge feels like it will last forever, but it won't. The urge feels like it will kill you if you don't feed it, but it won't. The urge feels more important and more urgent than anything else in your life, but it's not. It's just a feeling. And feelings, when you let them be feelings instead of trying to eat them away, pass through your body. I call my system for dealing with urges the groove shift method. Stop. Pause and recognize what's happening. Oh, I'm having an urge right now. I want to eat something, but I'm not actually hungry. Breathe. Allow the urge feeling to exist in your body without trying to make it go away by eating. Become one with it. Take deep breaths and focus on helpful thoughts like, this feeling will pass in less than 90 seconds, or I can handle feeling this without eating it. Win. Every time you let an urge pass without eating, you win. You prove to yourself that you're stronger than your addiction. You build the muscle of self-control. The first few times I tried this, it felt impossible. The urge would hit and I'd think, there's no way I can just sit here and feel this. But I started small. I'd let myself feel the urge for just 10 seconds before giving in, then 30 seconds, then a whole minute. And something amazing happened. I realized I could survive feeling uncomfortable. I realized that urges weren't emergencies that needed immediate action. I realized that my addiction had been lying to me about how urgent and important it was. I also realized I didn't need to eat all the things because I could have it again later or tomorrow. The breathing through became easier and easier, and the giving in became less and less. Here's what changed everything for me. I started keeping a temptation schmemptation jar. Every time I successfully breathed through an urge without eating, I put a gross lentil bean, hate lentils, in the jar. 100 beans equaled about 5 to 10 pounds off my body because each bean represented a time I would have eaten when I wasn't hungry. The jar became visual proof that I was winning battles against my addiction. It became evidence that I was capable of change. It became a physical reminder that small victories add up to massive transformation. But please understand this. Managing food addiction isn't about never having urges. I still have them. The difference is that I don't let them run my life anymore. I don't resist the urges because resistance makes them stronger. I don't judge myself for having them because shame feeds addiction. I don't try to make them go away because fighting the feelings gives them more power. I just let them exist. I breathe through them. I remind myself that they're temporary visitors, not permanent residents. I treat them like weather passing through, uncomfortable but not dangerous. Depending on the weather, of course. The tiger is still there. It always will be. But I've learned how to be the one holding the leash instead of the one being dragged around by it. Food addiction doesn't get cured, but it can be managed. It can be outsmarted. It can be shown who's actually in charge of your life. And every time you choose to breathe through an urge instead of eating through it, you're choosing freedom over imprisonment. You're choosing your future self over present discomfort. You're choosing to be the person who manages their tiger instead of the person who gets eaten by it. Real talk questions. What does your tiger look like? What foods, specific situations trigger your addiction? Be specific. Is it ice cream when you're stressed, chips when you're bored, drive-through food when you're overwhelmed or feeling lazy? You can't manage what you won't name. When do you lie to yourself about what you've eaten? The middle of the night eating, the standing at the counter eating, the if nobody saw it doesn't count eating? Where do you hide your addiction from yourself? What would happen if you treated food like medicine instead of comfort? Medicine is taken in prescribed doses at specific times for specific purposes. What if you approached food the same way instead of using it as therapy? Tiger tracking exercise. For 1 week, write down every time you eat something while standing, in secret, or while distracted. No judgment, just awareness. Do not beat yourself up for any of this. Example log Monday, 3 p.m., ate handful of crackers while standing at kitchen counter scrolling phone. Tuesday, 9 p.m., ate ice cream straight from the container while watching TV. Wednesday, 6 a.m., finished kids' leftover toast while packing their lunches. Thursday, 11 p.m., ate cookies in bed while reading. The goal isn't to stop all these behaviors immediately. The goal is to see your patterns. You can't cage a tiger you refuse to look at. Groove Shift Challenge. The next time you have an urge to eat when you're not hungry, try this. Stop. Say out loud, I'm having an urge right now, but I'm not actually hungry. Breathe. Set a timer for 90 seconds. Breathe deeply, think about anything but food, and remind yourself, this feeling will pass. I can handle 90 seconds of discomfort. Win. When the timer goes off, celebrate. You just proved you're stronger than your addiction. Start a temptation schmemptation jar, or the cravings graveyard jar, or the snack attack survivor jar, or the nope bowl, or the not today Satan jar, or the jar of emotional Jedi moments. Call it what you want. Use it how I've taught you. Every time you've successfully completed this exercise, put a bean, a coin, or a marble in the joy. Watch your victories add up. If you're Canadian, put a loonie in there and maybe you can afford your mortgage payment. Truth bomb. Food addiction isn't a moral failing or a lack of willpower. It's a real condition that requires real strategies, not just good intentions. You don't need to be stronger. You need to be smarter. The tiger will always be there, but you get to decide who's holding the leash. And every time you breathe through an urge instead of eating through it, you're proving that you're the one in control. Stop trying to kill the tiger. Learn to tame it instead. Okay, kids, that 15 to 90 seconds thing, like that changed my entire life, I think, because once I understood that urges are temporary, like really understood it, um, that they literally have a lifespan measured in seconds and not hours, everything shifted. I thought urges were permanent states that I had to satisfy, or they would never ever go away. I thought if I didn't eat when I had one, I'd be miserable forever, but that's not really how feelings work, right? Feelings are designed to move through you. They're called emotions because they're literally energy in motion. They're supposed to pass through, right? Not stay there forever and ever. But the problem is we've been taught to make feelings go away instead of letting them exist and sitting with them, right? We've been taught that uncomfortable feelings are emergencies that need immediate fixing. Bullshit. So when we feel bored, we eat. And when we feel sad, we eat. And when we feel anxious, we eat. And when we feel happy, we eat to celebrate. We use food to either amplify good feelings or suppress the bad ones, right? And we never learn that we can just feel things. Feel them. The groove shift method isn't complicated. It's not easy either, especially at first. The first time I tried to sit with an urge, without eating, I lasted probably 10, maybe 15 seconds. I don't know, before I caved. But you know what? 10 seconds was 10 seconds longer than I'd ever sat with discomfort before. So to me, that was progress for sure. And then I tried for 20 seconds and then 30 and then a full minute. And one day I just made the full 90 seconds and the urge just disappeared. Like it was gone. Seriously. And I was still alive. I hadn't died from not eating and I hadn't suffered permanent damage. I just felt a little uncomfortable for over a minute and a half, and then it was over. The temptation schmemptation jar, or whatever ridiculous name you want to give yours, it's more powerful than it sounds too, because when you're struggling, when you're having a hard day and the urges are hitting hard, you can look at that jar full of beans or coins or marbles or whatever you've got in there and see physical proof that you've done this before. You've won this battle before and you're capable of doing it again. And that visual reminder, to me, anyway, it's stronger than any motivational quote or before and after photo. It's your own evidence that you're not helpless against your addiction or whatever you're struggling with, right? But I want to be really clear about something too. I still have those urges all the time. The difference now, I know what they are and I know that they're just feelings and I know that they're temporary and I know I can survive them. And most importantly, I know that giving into them doesn't actually make me feel better. It just postpones the discomfort until later when I'm dealing with the shame now on top of everything else and the physical consequences of eating when I wasn't hungry. Yeah. And the tiger metaphor I think is perfect because it kind of captures exactly what food addiction feels like, right? Like you have this dangerous, powerful thing living inside of you that demands to be fed now. It's kind of like owning a cat a little bit. Same thing, I guess. And if you're not careful, it will eat you alive. And if you learn how to work with it, though, if you learn, its patterns and its triggers and how to be the one in control instead of letting it control you, then you can coexist with it. And it's pretty awesome. The tiger doesn't go away. I want to be clear about that too. Anyone who tells you that you can cure a food addiction is lying to you or trying to sell you something. The tiger is always there, will always be there, but it can be managed and tamed, and you can learn to be the zookeeper instead of the prey. And the real talk questions about what your tiger looks like, those are pretty crucial. So please go back and listen to those again. If you can't, I don't know, like you can't manage patterns that you don't acknowledge, right? I keep saying things like that. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. You can't do better if you don't know better, all those silly little sayings. But you got to be brutally honest about your triggers. And for me, it was stress eating and boredom eating and late night eating. So what's yours? Tiger tracking exercise. Do it without judgment. That's the key. You're not tracking to shame yourself. You're tracking to gain awareness. It's merely information. That's all. Because once you see those patterns, your patterns, once you know when and why and how your addiction shows up, you can start to kind of intercept it. Food addiction isn't a moral failing. It's not about being weak or lacking discipline. It's a real neurological condition where your brain has literally been rewired to use food as a coping mechanism. And you can't shame yourself out of it or willpower your way through it at all. You have to completely outsmart it. Sorry. So every time you use the groove shift method, every time you breathe through it instead of eating through it, you're literally rewiring your brain. This is science. This is something that's possible to do. You're teaching it this discomfort isn't an emergency, and you're building these new neural pathways that say, I can feel this feeling and survive it. No problem. You're proving to yourself that you're stronger than you thought you were, because the tiger will always be there. You get to decide who's in charge, and that decision happens one word at a time, and one breath at a time, and one small victory at a time, right? Before I go, if you want to discuss this episode with others, there is a Facebook group. The link is in the show notes. I'll be there too. All my content's free, but if you want to support the production, support information is also in the show notes with the contact information for me as well. I also accept e-transfer or PayPal if you want to avoid fees for possibly you, definitely me. You can reach out to me for details. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Unbound with Beth Curry. Join the conversation in the Facebook group or visit author.bethcurry.com. Want to support the show? Head to ko-fi.com/unbound podcast. Until next time, stay unbound.